So here we go. So now, just like you see here, I have some comments that could help you that describe each line what it does. So please go ahead and read them when you open the file or when you're trying to run the code. So let's run this and see what each line does by. So as you can see here, I think we have an error. Oh no, that's not an error. That's actually intentionally done. So okay, here we have a matrix MP0s. This function returns a matrix of size 3, 4, an empty matrix. Well, that's why, therefore, it's called zeros. So it is returning here, as you can see, 3 lines and 4 rows, zeros, and that's why it's called empty zeros. It is used a lot in calculus, so maybe if you use calculus in your research, you would like to use this a lot. Log2, just like self-explanatory, just like it says, logarithm base 2. So log2 is here, as mentioned here, as 3 point blah blah blah. And then we have square sqrt, which stands for square root of 81, and it's 9.0. And then we have C, randint. Randint is a function that is using random here, because we're importing random as star, so we don't have to actually show where we got this function. And that's why we have this yellow thing here that says that randint may be undefined or defined from start imports, random. So that is because we're not saying where it came from, so the compiler right now, the code corrector, doesn't know if we actually meant doesn't know if actually this function exists in random. So it's only the compiler can know that. So only once we run, then we can know if this is correct or wrong. And then we have here a variable called dec that takes a string, contains 8, 2, 3, 4, separated by spaces. And split is a function that comes with the strings, the string object, and then that we can use to split things up. So to split a string. So in this case, we have given nothing to this function. That means that by default, the parameter that it wants is space. So it will split this string whenever it meets space. So here we will have 4 values: 8, 2, 3, 4, a list with 4 values. And then we're calling this function that is called shuffle. It belongs in the random library, and that's why we have this yellow sign. As you can see here, we don't have the yellow sign for this one or this one, neither this one. And that is because we're actually importing them and we're using their names here. But for these two, we're not. So, and then we are printing the deck that we shuffled. So this shuffle is self-explanatory function that shuffles your list. And then finally, we're using the library sys again, and we're not again actually, for this is for the first time. We're exiting by the code 0. So this is a very, very nice and useful way to exit your code with errors. When you have an error, and like when you have an error that you met, then you can exit with different numbers. Whatever the number you give it, it will exit with that number. So, for example, if we want, just like in internet, when you have unknown code for 404, it couldn't find your website, then you could do the sys exit 404. As you can see here, we have system exit 404, and that's why I thought I had an error, but it's actually not an error. Okay, and as you can see here, we have a lonely line that doesn't print because we're exiting the algorithm with we're pre-exiting the algorithm. So this line is empty. It doesn't print. As you can see, there is no line that says "so sad, no one cares about me" here.